You know, Ted, if you're going to be a necromancer, you might as well do it right.
What do you mean, Dave? Do it right? Are you suggesting that there's a right way and a wrong way to play a necromancer?
Absolutely.
Oh, you mean like manipulating the spells of life and death to help your friends in your party?
No, Ted. I mean, killing your enemies and raising them as your minions. I mean, the 5 must-have spells if you're going to play a necromancer. Welcome to Nerdarchy, for nerds by nerds. I'm Nerdarchist Dave, and today I'm joined by this nerd.
Nerdarchy Ted.
Hey, maybe this is your first time in Ted's basement. It's a place where we like to talk about news, views, and homebrews for 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons. Sometimes we even talk about other role-playing games.
So if you don't want to miss a single video, then don't forget to hit that subscribe button and attune to that notification bell.
All right, Ted, let's jump into it. Our 5 top picks for necromancy spells. We do have some variables here based on what level caster you are. One of the first things I want to say about being a necromancer, I feel like until you hit 5th level and you can access those 3rd level spells, you ain't a necromancer yet.
I mean, you're accessing necromantic spells and you're doing things that, have the potential to cause harm and to deal damage. I think inflict wounds is a good way to start off, but it's not a necromancy spell. We're talking about truly manipulating, the energies of life and death. And let's face it, when somebody talks about the idea of what makes a necromancer, it's dealing with undead. It's creating them, it's controlling them, it's talking to them. That's what a necromancer is about.
Yeah, I mean, really, so we're going to pick kind of our top ones. And I think, our top 2 that are kind of like your damaging per se, right, is going to be Vampiric Touch and Innervation. We're going to go with Innervation. We are going to mention Vampiric Touch only because it's the lower level spell. It's a 3rd level spell as opposed to needing a 5th level slot. It's still good. I mean, you do damage. It lasts for a duration and you can hit multiple targets with it depending on who's near you, who you want to attack. But Innervation is more of it's a little more personal. You choose a target and each round you can inflict that damage and also heal yourself. But Innervation is a lot more nasty than Vampiric Touch.
Oh, I mean, it's a higher level spells. I mean, what do you expect?
True. So, I'm going to pull up D&D Beyond and the spell Innervation, and, we'll get into why that is so much nastier than Vampiric Touch, though there are a lot of instances where you'd probably rather cast Vampiric Touch only because it gives you more options. But against maybe the big bad, Innervation would be a great way to go. Like you said, it's a 5th level spell. It's an action, verbal and somatic components, range 60 feet. That's one of the things it definitely has on Vampiric Touch. You don't have to get near someone. You could be like, that guy over there, I hate you so much with necromantic energy. It's going to last a minute and you concentrate on it. A tendril of inky darkness reaches out from you, touching a creature you can see with a range to drain life from it. The target must make a dexterity saving throw. On a successful save, the target takes 2d8 necrotic damage and the spell ends. On a failed save, the target takes 4d8 necrotic damage, and until the spell ends, you can use your action on each of your turns to automatically deal 4d8 necrotic damage to the target. The spell ends if you use your action to do anything else, if the target is ever outside the spell's range, or if the target has total cover from you. When the spell deals damage to the target, you regain hit points equal to half the amount of necrotic damage the target takes, and you can bump this up every level above is another die 8 of damage.
So both of these spells, the great aspect of it is you're doing damage to an enemy and being able to heal yourself. This is a fabulous spell.
And also, it's only one saving throw. So at the beginning, if they don't make that save, they're kind of boned. So each round, you can just pour on the damage. Yeah, they're boned.
All right, so I got another good damage dealing spell, and I've got a bad relationship with this one, from my early days of playing 2nd edition. I've been put, under the effects of this spell way too many times from one particular caster, and it still hurts, getting into it, but it's next on that list, and it's going to be Harm. So, 6th level spell, casting time 1 action, range 60 feet, actually used to be a touch. Verbal and somatic, duration instantaneous. Obviously, it's necromancy. It's a constitution save, used to, and it deals necrotic damage. You unleash a virulent disease on a creature that you can see within range. The target must make a constitution saving throw. On a failed save, it takes 14 die 6 necrotic damage, or half as much on a successful save. The damage can't reduce the target's hit points below 1. If the target fails a saving throw, its hit point maximum is reduced for 1 hour by an amount equal to the damage it took. Any effect that removes a disease allows the creature's hit points maximum to return to normal before that time passes. That's powerful.
It is powerful. It actually used to be different in damage, and before it was you only rolled a die for life, not for damage, because that's how many hit points you had left. One of the things I find most devastating about that spell is you're reducing the maximum hit points. So, which you have to leave them with at least one, but pretty much you're really boned when you get hit by this spell.
You fail that save, and it's harsh.
Absolutely. So what else is harmful? And that is not rolling the right dice, like our sponsor's dice, Easy Roller Dice. You want to roll some bones, they're the bones you want to be rolling. Easy Roller Dice, whether it's your first set of dice or your 1 millionth set of dice, Easy Roller Dice for all your dice rolling needs. Down in the description, you can find a link to Easy Roller Dice /Nerdarchy, as well as a one-time coupon code for a whopping 20% off. Go check out Easy Roller Dice. Get some Easy Roller Dice in your life and roll them bones.
All right, so the next spell that we're going to get into is the one that happens to deal damage, but rather than it healing you like your spells, this is the one that if you bring somebody down with this spell, you get a minion, you get friends. So we've got Negative Energy Flood and Finger of Death. Awesome things that you're getting twice the bang for your buck. You get to do damage, and if it's good enough, you get to animate at the same time. You get to create an undead thing for you to play with. Totally great. So I'm going to get into Finger of Death. 7th level spell, casting time 1 action, range 60 feet, verbal somatic, duration instantaneous, school, it's necromancy. Another one that's a con save, and damage effect is necrotic. You send negative energy coursing through a creature that you can see within range, causing it searing pain. The target must make a con saving throw, taking 7 die 8 plus 30 necrotic damage on a failed save, or half as much on a successful one. A humanoid killed by this spell rises at the start of your next turn as a zombie that is permanently under your command, following your verbal orders to the best of its ability. Permanently under your command. As a 7th level spell, you'll be able to use this, every day, just gaining another follower. None of this worried about, I gotta, reassert control tomorrow. Is yours.
Yeah, that is a huge deal. That is a big deal for Finger of Death. And I actually forgot that, even though I always knew you kill it, you get a zombie. But I forgot about the little caveat that permanently under your control, because that part is kind of a big deal. You don't have to use spell slots in order to keep maintaining control of it. So that makes it a killer necromancy spell. The other one you mentioned was Negative Energy Flood, which is a super cool spell. It's a lower level spell. It does a bunch of damage, and anything that dies by it becomes a zombie. The main difference, though, is they're not under your control. They just attack the nearest thing to them. You're going to either have to use another resource to exert control over them, or use the spell in a way that puts your enemies closer to the zombies than you or your allies, if you care about such things. And you can always scoop them up after the fight's over with one of your other necromancy abilities and be like, all right, you guys come with me. You work for me now. So it does double duty. Both spells are really good. One is an area effect and is going to require more resources, but you might get more undead out of it. The other one is a lot of damage to an individual, and they permanently become your zombie if you murderate them. All right, so for the number 4 slot on our 5 must-have necromancy spells, I had to throw Clone out there. It's a necromancy spell, and honestly, it just gives me that Emperor feel from Star Wars, that villain that just you can't get rid of. They keep coming back. They're constantly defying death by having more clones to jump into, and you don't have those lich problems of having to be a stinky corpse walking around. You still get to be young and beautiful. You could possibly be younger than you were when you died because of the way Clone works.
Yeah, you're right.
So Clone is a very high level spell, 8th level. Casting time is 1 hour. Range touch, instantaneous. Necromancy, duh. So this spell grows an inert duplicate of a living medium creature as a safeguard against death. The clone forms inside a sealed vessel and grows to full size and maturity after 120 days. You can also choose to have a clone be a younger version of the same creature. It remains inert and endures indefinitely, as long as its vessel remains undisturbed. At any time after the clone matures, if the original creature dies, the soul transfers to the clone, provided that the soul is free and willing to return. The clone is physically identical to the original and has the same personality, memories, and abilities, but none of the original's equipment. The original creature's physical remains, if they still exist, become inert and can't thereafter be restored to life, since the creature's soul is elsewhere. Now, this spell is a little bit expensive in order to make it, but make that clone happen. But if you do, it's an awesome way for your villains to keep coming back. Or if your villain dies and you weren't planning on them dying, and be like, well, I guess they had a clone now, would be a great way to go.
I think that, that is a nice fail-safe. If you've got, plans and, somehow the party messes it up, they're like, oh man, what do? I really had this guy supposed to be my BBG, your big bad evil guy or gal, it's a clone, or they kill it and the spirit whisks away to the new body, and it's got all those nice happy memories of, well, how did they kill me?
Yes, that is definitely a way to go. I wouldn't do it all the time, but once a campaign, nothing wrong with that.
True. All right, so we talked about how crucial and how critical it is for necromancers to have undead. That's kind of what they do.
It's their shtick.
It's their shtick. So we left off, I'm certain that you've already guessed it, animate dead, create undead. It's their thing. It's what they do. So I'm looking here at create undead, 6th level, casting time 1 minute, range 10 feet, verbal somatic material. There's no save, it's an instantaneous, and its effect is it's going to be control. You cast the spell only at night. Choose up to 3 corpses of medium or small humanoids within range. Each corpse becomes a ghoul under your control. The GM has the game statistics for these. As a bonus action on each of your turns, you can mentally command any creature you animated with this spell if the creature is within 120 feet of you. If you control multiple creatures, you can, occupy them at the same time. You decide what action the creatures take and where it will move during its turn. You can issue a general command such as a guard, protect their chamber, or corridor. If you issue no commands, the creature only defends itself against hostile creatures. Once given an order, the creature continues to follow it until the task is complete. The creature's under your control only for 24 hours, so you have to re-up it, as we were talking about with the other ones. You can use this spell reasserts your control over up to 3 creatures you have animated with this spell, rather than animating new ones. And you can cast this spell using higher level spell slots to either reanimate or regain control. 7th level, you can get 5 ghouls or 2 gas or whites. When you use this as a 7th level spell slot, you can create or animate up to 4 ghouls. If you use an 8th level spell, you get 5 ghouls or 2 gas or 2 whites. If you use a 9th level spell slot, you get control over 6 ghouls, 3 gas or whites, or up to 2 mummies.
Whether you use animate dead or create undead, it just depends on whether you want quantity or quality, or somewhere in between. But essentially, if you're a necromancer, you need to be playing with dead things, and this is how you do it.
Yeah, and we went through the math using as many spell slots to create a horde, and it was that you could get a lot of undead if you've got a 20th level necromancer. So yeah, and that's not saying though what you've permanently gained with Finger of Death and zombies.
That's true, because if you're very diligent and work really hard as a necromancer, you too could raise a horde one at a time. So with that, I want to take a moment to invite you to join the Nerdarchy Adventuring Party over on Patreon. Hey, Ted, what can they expect over there?
We're creating products for 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons every month for both DMs and players alike.
That's not all. You're also going to be automatically entered into our monthly giveaways.
But wait, there's still more. We're also doing a weekly hangout with our patrons.
So quest down the description where you can find a link. Become a member of the Nerdarchy Adventuring Party. And until next time,
stay nerdy.